Mr. 2020 and the golden one dropping wrestling talk. Wrestling adventure storytelling, no fake news here. Yo.
Welcome back, everyone, first and foremost, and welcome back, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Oh, I am good. How are you today, buddy?
I've been up early, enjoying my morning here, getting some stuff done that needs to be done. And, I'll take it easy Thursday. Got dinner later tonight up in Ybor at the Columbia. Really good restaurant. Ate here years ago when I lived here the first time in the Tampa area. And going back tonight, me and the wife and a couple of her really good, close friends, which I became to know them well, too. So they're my friends now as well. But we're going out with friends and, have a good evening, good dinner, and then relax. And then that'll be it for the day. But just doing a lot of errands today. And, of course, this wonderful podcast. Here we go.
Yes. Yeah, and, I decided to send the kids back to school today. They've been out all week for the snow and ice.
Yeah, that's something we don't have to deal with down here.
Yeah, I mean, me and my wife were talking, my hot American wife, and like when we was kids, we was up ready in the morning for school, watching 3 different news channels just to watch it at the bottom of the screen if it was going to be closed or not. But we had to be up and ready. Now they call it like a day before.
Yep.
Like 5 o'clock early, like evening and stuff. So it's terrible.
They got it so much better when it comes to that now because,
Yeah, we was having hard times, baby.
Oh, yeah, hard times. You can do the Dusty promo. If we had it here, we insert it because that's right now what we were having.
Yes.
But things have changed so much for even the kids. I mean, my nephews, same thing in North Carolina. They have a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow. Oh, you're out tomorrow. You can stay in bed. No worries.
Yeah, we was out for 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, they was out since last Friday. So Friday, the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and back today.
Yeah. So all we worry about here, though, is hurricanes and flooding. When it's heavy rains. Other than that, man, ain't really much to worry about. You don't get no ice, no snow, and it was probably in the 40s yesterday morning. And everybody here, oh my God, it's cold. I'm like, y'all don't know what cold is,
Yeah,
but
40 is nice.
But when you're not used to it, if you get used to this weather down here, which I'm slowly getting used to it being warm 95% of the time. So when I finally get used to it, I'll hate cold weather. When I go to other places, I'll be like, my God, it's freezing. But I kind of like the fact I can go out, this morning I'm out in athletic shorts and a T-shirt in December with a pair of slip-on shoes, bro. So I'm enjoying it. I enjoy the weather again. And not that I'm throwing out any of my business out there to the listeners, but I have Raynaud's, and basically cold weather sets that off, and all my fingers were turned white during the winter up in Virginia because it was so cold. Here, I haven't had any problem at all. My feet feel good all the time. My hands feel good. It's because it's always warmer. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, I do miss Virginia. I made a lot of good friends up there during my time back because I hadn't lived there since elementary school. We moved away to Charlotte, my family did. But we're talking about mom, dad, one set of grandparents, all the kids down in Charlotte, the grandparents moved with us, my mom's side. And I was probably 8. Yeah, I think I was 8. And moved down there, and I was a big wrestling fan then. Then we got into the Crockett's. Oh man, I tell you, my love for wrestling even got worse down there. If you look at it that way, because I'm nagging the parents all the time. Because back then, even in the late 80s when Crockett was still running, sometimes they do twice a month at the Charlotte Coliseum. So we lived right in Charlotte. So I'd be like, I'm going to wrestling. So finally they take me to every wrestling show there was. Sometimes we go to Greensboro. But it was good being back in Virginia. Long story short, I moved back for 7 years, made a lot of good friends, new friends, none from elementary school. I don't remember nobody. They don't remember me. I don't know where they are. They don't know where I am. but made new friends. You including one of them, and you're probably my best friend out of Virginia, my man. And or we wouldn't be doing this podcast together. So, but I appreciate every friend I have, no matter where they live. And speaking of friends, Mike, before we move on to some good other wrestling talk, or if you got any more stories I want you to share, but this weekend I get to reunite with some friends at where Wrestle Expo in Clearwater, Florida, at the OCC Roadhouse. Now, I've been to this place. I went there in July and I moved back. I went to a show out there. WWN throws on Monday Night Mayhem every Monday, except this Monday's the last Monday until next year. But anyway, I went out there, seen this place. This place is great, man. Great for wrestling. And it's good that we have this venue. But they're having this Wrestle Expo. And I looked up the guest list because I could not remember all these names that's going to be there this weekend. So first and foremost, I will be appearing on Saturday, the 13th, from 12 to 4, because that's the day. That's what the day is. They will be doing it again the next day on Sunday from 12 to 4 as well. And afterwards, they got their big battle. I think it's Battle of the Belts, big WWN Super Show at 6 o'clock in the evening, right after the session on Sunday. So if you're able to catch that, guys, catch a good wrestling show. It's a lot of great indie talent that is currently on the scene. So let's name the list of this talents, man. Not only do you have me appearing, but you got August Artos. I hope I say your name right. If I don't, please forgive me. He's the current FIP World Heavyweight Champion. Now, FIP is dear to my heart because that's part of WWN. And when I got started down here, it was with FIP and Shine, the all-girl league. So he's sponsored by WWN, of course. Then you got Rich Port Alea. And if I said your name wrong as well, please forgive me. He's there the whole weekend, December 13th and 14th. You got Dan Barry, which I worked with Dan years ago in Evolve. He will be appearing the whole weekend. Brutus the Barber Beefcake only on Sunday, guys. He's got another appearance up in the Northeast, I know, on Saturday. So he'll be there only on Sunday. Also only on Sunday, the FPW Florida Heavyweight Champion. This guy, I used to help book talent for a group called Florida Underground Wrestling. He was my tag team champions when I booked. Buckshot Brian Brock. This kid is nothing but phenomenal. He's got the throwback boots like Dusty, bro. You'd like him. Got the cowboy look, cowboy hat, and he is a worker. If he would have been in the 80s, in the early 90s, he would have been signed, hands down. He would have had a job. And I don't know why you don't have one now, but nonetheless, he'll be there on Sunday. He'll also be at the Super Show for everybody. Legendary WCW ring announcer Gary Michael Capetta. Now, this is one, I won't be there Sunday, so I'm going to miss meeting Gary Michael Capetta. He was before my time in WCW, but just watching him, he had one of the best voice. The top 3 ring announcers, I tell everybody throughout the decades, is Howard Finkel, WWF, Gary Michael Capetta, WCW, NWA Crockett, and AWA for Vern Gagne, and none other than my friend, and I put him on a pedestal, Dave Penzer, TNA WCW. Dave Penzer is up there, the top 3 in my personal opinion. Then you got Damos will be appearing on Sunday the 14th. Cahagas, former NWA Triple Crown champion, Cahagas will be there. A really good guy. I knew him over the years working with Florida Underground and various other indies here in Florida, and I'm glad he'll be there. He'll be there all weekend, guys. Also, Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer, on the 14th, Sunday only. Sonny Ono. Do you remember Sonny Ono? Mike? Okay. He managed
Maybe.
He managed the Ultimo Dragon and a couple other guys. I can't think right now. It may have been Glacier and his group. I can't remember because all the wrestling goes on. It's over 30 years of being in it, and I forget things. But he's a legend in this business, guys. You got to come out and see Sonny Ono. He'll be there all weekend. I mentioned Dave Penzer earlier. He'll be there all weekend as well. The Southern Posse, a Florida tag team mainstay throughout the years, back in the 90s, and they did WCW tapings at Universal. Will be there all weekend. Alex Porto, former WWE guy, plus he was big in Puerto Rico, Texas, and Florida. So come out and check him out. Perry Saturn, you don't hear his name very much at conventions. I think he was at WrestleCade this year, but he'll be appearing. Of course, we know him from WCW, WWE, and ECW. I'm looking forward to actually meeting Perry because I was signed to WCW. I went in a month after he had left and went to the WWF. So let's see here. Billy Silverman will be there. My buddy. Let's stop talking about friends now. That's a friend I haven't seen in many years. It may be 20 years or more. So I'm looking forward to catching up with Billy, former referee friend and road partner. And of course, I said I'll be there. And Big Vito, man, Big Vito. I ain't saw him in about at least 10 years. He'll be there all weekend signing for JCW and FPW. Also, let's see what we got here. ECW legend Pitbull Gary Wolf. Now, let me tell you a story about Gary Wolf here. I originally known about Gary, not because of his ECW days, because of South Atlantic Pro Wrestling days. I grew up in the early 90s in Charlotte. He came through that territory that was South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, and we've talked about South Atlantic in the past. We'll bring that up in the future again. He'll be there only Saturday as well. So Saturday, I hope to connect with Gary and tell him stories when I was a kid before I got into business. And I may even see if I have any posters I can give him and have him sign one for me myself. But that's going to be cool to see Gary. So, look, guys, I named a bunch of names. I'm left off a few. I'm sorry. But it's going to be a big weekend with the big Battle of the Belts Sunday evening at 6 p.m., the big 2 days of signings from 12 to 4, Saturday and Sunday. Monday Night Mayhem will be on Monday night again. So you got a full weekend of wrestling. So if you're coming in or you're a fan locally that's going to be there, stay the whole weekend. Do the whole thing. Call in to work, whatever you got to do. But have a good time. Come on out. I'm going to have 8x10 pictures, WCW picture, TNA picture. Come on out. Let me sign them for you. Talk to me. Let's get a picture together. Let's have some memories and tell me stories. Just have a chat, everybody. Have a good time. So with that being said, Mike, we're moving on from Wrestle Expo. I told about the big weekend this weekend, December 13th through the 15th. So tell me, in the pro wrestling world at this current time, what is the biggest headline that we need to discuss?
The biggest?
Yes.
The Good Brothers coming back to WWE. All right, I made that up. They might. There's a rumor that they might come back in 2026 for a short run with AJ Styles' retirement.
Okay.
But that's not confirmed. But talking about retirement, probably John Cena. Last match this Saturday, the 13th.
Okay. So that's
Saturday night main event.
Yep, the 13th. Now, let me ask you this. Saturday night's main event, I've catched them later on Peacock. Do they only show them on Peacock, or are they on NBC as well?
Should be on NBC.
Okay.
I've been watching it on Peacock, too.
Yeah. The reason I asked, because that was the throwback, man. If I could go on there and turn off my streaming and go to watch local TV and see wrestling on it on network television, that'd bring me back to where I really get excited, because all this streaming, it's all good, it's all cool, but nothing's like watching it on network TV. Nothing was like getting your syndicated shows on Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon or whatever the case, watching TBS, watching USA Network with WWF, watching Vern Gagne's AWA on Sunday afternoon from 7 to 9 p.m. On ESPN. You can't beat that stuff, right? But we're in a new era. We don't have that no more. I get that. We've moved way far along from that. Basic cable or cable, whatever. Network television, all that. We moved on from that. But that would be so cool. And what time does this start? Peacock, on Peacock or NBC. What time does this start? 8 o'clock?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Does it normally run about 2 hours?
I think so. Well, it's got to on this episode. I think this one, I don't think they're doing like a time on it for like watching on Peacock.
Yeah.
Because they got, of course, Cena's match going to open, which I thought it should be the main event.
Yeah.
But he wants it to open to give the other people time on the show. But then you got Cody Rhodes and Obo Femi, the NXT champion. They're going to be facing it off in the match. I think that's going to be a really good one. And then I think it's like a tag team match with AJ, Dragon Lee, and then two other people. I can't think of the name right now. But one's from TNA, the X Division champion.
Okay.
He's teaming up and everything. And I think it's supposed to be a girls' match, too. I'm not 100%. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. So it sounds like it's going to be a big card for a Saturday night main event. Should be a good one.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it, dude. I think it'll be a good thing. I will try to catch that. Depends on how my Saturday goes and what I end up doing after the Wrestle Expo. You run into old friends like that. Sometimes you make new ones as well. Sometimes you go out, have a few drinks. I know a lot of us are getting older. We don't drink as much as we used to. But you still can go out and tell stories and laugh about old stuff. Or hell, the funny thing is, and I've learned this, is you can run into somebody you used to know 20 years ago, and you thought you knew everything that we were doing on the road, but then you learn something new, and you're like, "What? This happened?" And then it's so cool. It's just like relearning new stuff, man. I can't wait. I love these things. The last one was WrestleCade in 2022 in the Omega reunion. That was phenomenal because Omega was the big thing in the 90s. And I always tell everybody, wasn't for Omega, you wouldn't have had all these new super indie groups. You know what I'm saying? You really wouldn't. We paved the way because they were during the time of the video trading days where people would trade videos to get an Omega video because how hot it was. It's so awesome. Thomas Simpson, we talk very often, and we'll get Thomas on the podcast, by the way, because you're going to love him just to hear him talk and talk about people and people he likes and don't like. It's the funniest part. And he's just hilarious. And I love Thomas Simpson to death. We'll get Thomas on here, though, man. If he ever releases all that footage that he has, I'm pretty sure him and Matt both have it, him and Matt Hardy, to the general public, because the trading tape days have been over for a while. If that gets out where you can actually maybe stream it, buy it all or whatever, I'm telling you, people are going to realize that paved the way for all the super indie groups that people call nowadays. Omega was the first one, to my knowledge. And we set the standard of what a big independent wrestling group with all that talent should mean. And we're going to have to get him on here. I want to get in touch with him. We talk very, very, not all the time. We talk ever so often. I'm going to have to get him to come on here, convince him to come on. I'm sure he won't have much convincing. And then I also talked to a good friend, Bobby Yella Man, out of originally from Roanoke, Virginia. He lives in Withville, I believe now. I believe that's where he lives. But he's from Roanoke. Good guy. Really good old school mentality. And he had one of his biggest matches of his career in his mind. And it should have been, because he just wrestled recently the franchise Shane Douglas up in Bluefield, West Virginia. And if I'd have been in Roanoke, I probably would have lobbied to drive over to Bluefield to ref it. Because I like Shane. I used to work with him, but I would have loved to ref Bobby's match with Shane just to, to make it even a little more cherry on the top there. But I'm really proud of him. And he also does music, and we're going to let him talk about his albums that he's made on the indie scene there, indie music as well, and get his name out there with that as well. So we're going to have Bobby on there. I'm going to try to get Thomas on here. Bobby's for sure set in stone. We just got to get him a date. He said anytime he's ready. Got a couple other guys we're going to bring on. And then this weekend, I'm going to reach out to a lot of people I see at the convention. So we're going to have some guests coming up, Mike. We're going to have some really good guests. And we're going to dig deep with them as well, on their stories as well, instead of just, my stories every week. But I'm looking forward to that too. I think it's going to get very interesting in the weeks and months to come. I really do. But you know what else is interesting and great to know, everybody? Bam.
What?
Go to cowboyrevolution.com. Cowboy Revolution Apparel Company. At checkout, guys, don't forget to use the code JamieT123 for 15% off. If I had my merch here with me right now, I'd have it on. It's currently in the other room. Next time, I will wear my cowboy hat or my hoodie, and we'll show it off. But I get hot really easy, so I probably won't have the hoodie on very long if I did show it. Maybe I'll just show it to you. But we'll show you the few things I do have and the things maybe that you'll be interested in. But you got to check out the site. You got to do that. You just can't take my word for it and look at a few items I have. You have got to check out the site and get you something. I guarantee you will find something there that you'll like. Okay, Mike. So moving along here.
Hey, you forgot one thing.
What's that?
They support the veterans.
They do. There you go.
I mean, you can't forget that.
My mind's everywhere. When I start talking, it goes everywhere.
I mean, a great sponsor of the podcast, and they support the veterans and everything. So use the code JamieT123 for 15% off and help support the veterans.
There you go. Mike helped the plug even better. That's what I'm talking about. That's why we work good together. If I miss something, you catch it. If you miss something,
well, you miss a lot. You miss a lot.
Well, what are you going to do? So moving along, we talked about Cena this weekend. It's Gunther, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about the Wrestle Expo here locally that I'll be appearing at with a lot of good talent and friends and all that great stuff. I know Your Way Pure Pro probably has a show this weekend.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's at
is it Rocky Mount? I think this one's at Rocky Mount.
Okay, but it's not the YMCA. I believe it's at the high school up there.
I think so.
Franklin County, one of the gyms. Yeah. So guys, go check it out. They're on Facebook as well. Got their own Facebook page, Pure Pro Wrestling. I believe there's 2 Pure Pro Wrestlings. One's in Michigan, but this one's out of Virginia. So that way you know which one we're talking about if you want to check out. And look them up on YouTube for their videos as well. There's plenty of wrestling over the years. I actually found some last week, me refereeing, and from Wirtz, Virginia. So I thought that was interesting. I just was looking through I get the YouTube all the time. And I really don't look for stuff. This was out of the blue. I was just looking for videos. Next thing I know, I see this from Pure Pro, and I look, and you know how you can look at the video, even if it's still framed, and I'm like, is that me? So I click on it, watch these videos. It's me refereeing. So it was kind of cool to see that, the newer stuff that I've done the last 2 or 3 years, because this was in 2023. So that was kind of cool, dude. Another group I want to mention in Virginia, I will do it every week if I remember, Mid-Atlantic Territory Wrestling. Preston Quinn, indie longtime mainstay out of Virginia, out of like down there in Richmond, Colonial, all that area down there. Good guy. I worked for him some in 2023 and 2024. And I like Preston a lot. Good guy. Still moving along. His TV's actually on Right Now TV, Thursday nights, 8 o'clock. Don't forget about that as well. So, and here locally, we talked about Wrestle Expo, the WWN, Monday Night Mayhem. That's really big in this area. Florida Pro Wrestling this Friday, which is tomorrow. Guys, they will be in Winter Haven at Tanner's Lakeside. Cahagas, Brian Brock, we talked about him earlier. Billy Silverman referees, and another WCW referee in the 90s that was Randy Eller will be there. So him and Billy take the official call the matches over there every time they run a show. It's once a month over there on a Friday. So check them out. It's FPW, Florida Pro Wrestling. One more thing, and we'll move along, Mike. CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling. They do a show in Tampa. They do it in many other places in the state of Florida, but I won't mention Tampa because this is my area. Once a month. Magnus, I believe it's called, Brewing Company, and it's in Tampa. And they'll be there Saturday night, this Saturday the 13th, with a big cage match, guys. I'm telling you, you go check this out. Big cage match. My man Eddie Torres, the Raging Bull, is what I call him. That's his old name. I think he's changed his moniker now. in a cage with Mark. I know him as Martin Stone, WWE developmental. He was on NXT actually, so he actually got out of developmental because NXT now is way above developmental days. And he's done. Danny Briggs is his name. Does phenomenal work. One of the best ever. He's from England, and you got to catch that. I probably will not be there Saturday because of shenanigans that I'll get into Wrestle Expo and after. But if you're in the Tampa area and you're in town for the expo and you're a big wrestling fan, go on down to the brewery, catch the show out, and get a beer. So, all right. So, Mike, moving along. Do you have anything else for us before we get on with the show?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of. I mean, I could probably think of something, but not at this moment. No, not this time. But got a question about what we talked about last week. What was it? 91, 93?
Yes. It was 90, 93, 94-ish. Yes.
All right, so you're 15, 16 years old. Right.
Yep.
I'm 2.5, 3. You walking in your first day on the job.
Mhm.
How is a 15, 16-year-old boy feeling walking in to a pretty adult dominated sport at this time? Like, was you like scared? Was you nervous? Was you excited because you've been a wrestling fan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how was Jamie Tucker feeling at this time?
Well, because at 15, it's the fall. I'm going to school by day during the week. I'm in, high school, but yet will be a pro wrestling referee on Saturday night coming up, So a lot of my friends in school, I had a couple that were wrestling fans, but most of them wasn't. It was kind of like, you feel the odd man. I wasn't a man yet. I guess I got in a male dominated sport. So maybe I was becoming a man soon, but still a teenage guy. Right. But you ever felt like you're the odd man out at certain things? And I felt that way in school because people liked wrestling, but there were ones that didn't. And it was ones that always made fun of it, and I never hung out with them once I found out they didn't like it because you made fun of something that I loved. So for me going from, from that area of my life, I'm a 15-year-old kid. And then I go into a pro wrestling ring. And on Saturday, that weekend, October 30th, I go into the armory. We show up to set up the ring. So Stallion don't show up to these armories till 4 p.m. So being that I'm debuting that, I would call it a debut, I guess, because I did. I ended up helping set up the ring. I've never set up a ring in my life until this day. Once you learn the process, they all are very similar. The side slide into the post, you get it. You got the metal beams in the middle, blah, blah, blah. You got the chains or most of them have chains underneath that you tighten underneath to help the ring ropes at the top do right as well. Because if you don't have both, they don't line up right. And keeps the post straight and all that, right? So I learned all about it putting up a wrestling ring. And, I got to do that. I got in the ring with the guys as they trained. I get to get the feel about walking around the ring. But we really didn't do much go over and stuff. It was a couple guys in there. Ray Hudson, we called him Poffo because he looked like Lanny Poffo, Randy Savage's brother. So his nickname, Stallion, and we call him Poffo. So he gave me some pointers. Another guy, his real name's Kenny, but he went by Terry Austin. He gave me some pointers, and then George South actually got in the ring and was give me a few pointers on what an official should officially do. But to be honest with you, other than that, I hadn't took a bump at this point. Obviously, I didn't know much about being in the ring, and that was my course. It was just base, like I said last time. It was just basic throw out here. Hey, you need to know about the shoulders are down. You count them. Of course, if they don't stay down, they kick out. And then the standing 10 count, the 10 count on the floor, the over the top rope rule was in effect. We had NWA rules. Over the top rope, disqualification. Corner and ropes, both, if they got the guy pushed in them, they got a 5 count to get out. It's a disqualification. That's when you called fist. Like, I don't even know if they even call closed fist nowadays. But back in the day, I can't remember. I still call them on the indie shows because I think it looks good for you to tell them that they're using a fist, But I know a lot of times WWE got to the point where they didn't want you. When I was in developmental, and we'll go back to 1993 again, they got to the point where closed fist was like, don't worry about calling that. That's calling too much. But the funny thing about pro wrestling is this week it's done this way and next week it's done that way. Does that make sense? So it changes week to week, especially working for a company such as big and globally as the WWE. So that's a different story for a different day. But long story short, I knew the basic rules. And then come match time, I had the first opening match, didn't know a finish, didn't know what they were doing from start to finish. I didn't know to go up to them and ask for a finish. Nothing was laid out with me. I went out there and did the basic rules as they told me. It went over smoothly. I actually counted the right pinfall. That was great. But it was kind of like learn the job type thing, and it was very cool. I probably was on a really big high because, at one point, I told this story where I was timid. They tried to get me to do it for months and months and months because I hung around the shows all the time. And they knew I knew Chuck Coates, my dear friend that just passed away about 2 months ago in Carolina. But they knew I was friends with Chuck. That's how I met Stallion in South. And I started hanging around at all their shows because at one point they'd run Virginia. To be honest with you, Mike, there's so many independents out there in the Carolinas, always has been, that Stallion would run West Virginia more weekends than he would ever run a North Carolina show. And then they'd run like Hillsville, Virginia, and Galax and Wytheville and towns like that. But they never went to like Roanoke or nothing, but they'd run the towns close to Roanoke. And then Bluefield, West Virginia. I could keep naming them. Princeton, West Virginia. Towns way up in the state, were close to the Ohio line. I mean, they went way out there. But, they finally started running the Carolinas pretty heavy, probably in 1992. And that's when I went to as many Stallion and South shows as I could get to that my dad would say, hey, yeah, let's go. We drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. We go to these shows every weekend. We did that with South Atlantic years before. We followed them around the territory after Crockett went out. But anyway, so I always went to wrestling as much as I could make it and go because I had, a lot of times it was too far on the weekend. My dad would be like, no, because he didn't want me to be too tired for school on Monday. But for the most part, we'd go to a ton of wrestling shows. And when I went to Stallion, like every weekend, they were within a 2-hour radius probably. I got to know people, talked to Stallion every week, felt a little more comfortable. So that was probably good that I got to know these guys before actually getting the break. But they stayed on me. And then the boys started telling me, you ought to start reffing. Because back then they looked at referees differently. And what I say that by, they look at referees, they wanted most referees to be smaller than all the guys. Okay, because they wanted that element of the performer's bigger than the referee. So if you were a thinner ref back then, it meant more. Nowadays, it's a little more open because we have a lot of girls refereeing now. That's changed. We have guys that look like they may work out quite a bit, getting jobs to referee, just like UFC refs, right? But back then it was more of, oh, you're a smaller ref. You're great. So I was a small kid. I was probably 165, 5'10", same height I am now. I didn't grow any more height from 15, 16. But I'm 5'10". I weighed 165. I was quite thin, and I looked smaller than every guy on the roster. I mean, there may have been a few guys I was a little taller than, but most part back then, you didn't have that. And so I fit the role. I had the clean cut look. I had a baby face, of course, but I didn't have no beard, clean cut. That's what they wanted back then. And I knew everybody, and that's how I got in. But it was a really good experience, you know, seeing the locker room experience. I'd never really been in a locker room like that setting, like an indie setting where I'm sitting there actually suiting up to go out. I'd been backstage at WCW TV tapings, walking through and saw the locker rooms, but I never stayed backstage. I got to meet, you know, I told them stories too, that Chuck used to take me to WCW tapings, and I'd get backstage at TV tapings and Starrcade 91 and blah, 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 right? But it was a whole new element, and it was exciting, but yeah, it was nerve-wracking. I was a little nervous because, like I said before, I was a shy kid too, man. I had to grow out of that. I was really shy going into a predominantly, and at the time, you know, there were lady wrestlers around, but predominantly male business, and a lot of them were tough guys, and they'd want you to believe they were tough guys, and they'd want to scare you. So yeah, it was quite different, but I survived and made friends with a lot of the guys and got respect. And over the years, you know, through the indie years and leading up, you know, by having that mutual respect and learning how to work with different types of matches, different types of people. Like, for example, like if you're working with a Kurt Angle, you know, let's just use Kurt Angle, for example. You're on Kurt Angle on a Monday night taping, and then the next night on Tuesday, you're working with Sting. There's two different types of guys. They work differently. You can say all day long that a match is a match, but it's not. And a worker's a worker, but they're not. They all kick out differently. Some of them may kick out the last possible time, and you're like, please kick out. I'm going to hit 3. And then you had guys that kicked out a lot quicker, you know, and you'd hit 2, but they'd be kicking out when you hit 2. So really it might've been 1, but it don't matter because you didn't count them out. But my point is, even kickouts were different with guys. The way they worked in the ring, some guys wanted you farther away from them to give them more space, but some guys want you closer so they can relay messages more. It's odd, right? But you'd think, so the moral of that story is, and this is to all the young guys breaking in, or if you've been in it a couple years and still learning, you're going to learn a lot from very many different people. And you're going to be told so many different things from very many different people. But you can't take it all in and use it all. You just got to learn from every experience and make it your own, and then everything will fall into place. Because everybody's going to have a different opinion of how you do things or how you should do things, blah, blah, blah. Just like I would on somebody. It's just the nature of the beast and the way the business is ran. But yeah, it was great, man. Like I said, it was full bore after that. I was there every weekend. I was a Stallion for it's about a year and a half straight before I started taking other bookings. But I just worked solely for Stallion, learned as much as I could, learned about poster and towns, learned about promoting. I learned about putting cards together because he'd let me do that sometimes. He'd be like, what do you think? Here. I'd write down the card, put the matches together. He'd tell the boys, they thought he did it. But Stallion gave me that liberty there, that openness. And I can never thank him any more than that. And he was really good to me. We had our differences, like I said before last week, but I would never change anything about my learning process. And I respect him to this day. And I hope he's doing well up in Charlotte right now. And I would not take back one moment of how I learned the business, because that shaped me for how I did get my opportunities in WCW, TNA, WWE. You get it. And even working for WWN and Evolve, man, going to China in 2014, that was a big experience, right? I mean, done a lot of great things, and I think Stallion and South actually shapes me for where I got to. So, yeah, absolutely, man. It was great walking in there. It was good for me, for a shy kid, to have to adapt to such a male-driven business at that particular time with all this masculinity. Oh, hell yeah. It was phenomenal to help me as a human being. I think it helped me a lot to open up. Because even years later, it took me years to get out of that, dude. To get out of it where I wouldn't feel uncomfortable, to be shy. It took me years, even in the business, but that's just the way I was. We all have our own insecurities.
So, was you one of the refs that like to know the finish or not know the finish? Because I would imagine if you didn't know the finish, which is like a lost art, like the refs don't do like the expressions, like they used to.
Right.
I'm thinking it'd be hard to do that if you know the finish.
Yeah.
So, which way would you like to do it more?
Well, if we look at the landscape, the way it's changed today in this era, if I was working all the time, I want to know everything. I really do. If we're talking about when I broke in, maybe a little different. Finishes were things you've seen how the business have changed. You go back and look at the 80s, early 90s, and compare it to late 90s and now, it's changed the way the matches are done. So if we're talking about then and now, then I could have went either way. Now, absolutely, I want to know if there's a spot involved that you need me for, a spot I don't need to see. I want you to tell me every little thing that's important. Just don't go, oh, go out there and referee. We'll see you out there. No, these it's just too much going on a lot of times with the finishes, with one thing leading to another. It may be 14 false finishes till you get the last one. If you don't tell me the finish, what if I count you out on number 3 and you need to do 7 more? Sorry, guys, you're out of here. I counted you out. But the point is if they don't kick out, they're out anyway. That's the old golden rule. So it really don't matter. If you treated it, the referees are supposed to treat the match like a shoot. Now, with that being said, I will say this. If you treat the match like a total shoot, that is the most proper way we're trained to do it. But think about this. If literally every referee went out there and treated every match like it was a shoot, there'd be a lot more guys counted out than they already are. You know, it really would be, if you think about it. But no, we're brought in the business and taught. I'm sure they are still, I hope. But at that point, we were taught if they don't kick out, you count it. And so it didn't matter whether you know the finish or not. If they didn't kick out, you count it anyway. But knowing the finish a lot of times will make you more hesitant to pull your counts. But when you pull your count, if you think you're counting them out, you always hope that if you pull it, that it doesn't show. Sometimes it does, unfortunately. But that's the magic of being in a live profession too, because we don't have retakes. If it's a screw up, you just got to continue on, regardless if it's from the guys or the ref, right? You got to continue, move on from that, and then goes with the live act that you're doing. You got to ad lib, you know. It's it's totally different than saying, oh, we're shooting this scene. Oh, God, you messed up. We got to do it again. You can't do it. It's no retakes, bro. It's over. You just got to move on and continue. But if I have to say, if I have one way, I prefer to know my stuff ahead of time. I absolutely do.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like if you know the finish, which I can understand because false finish now is terrible. Like
They're all over the place.
They hit like 15 finishers and you don't know which one is. So that I can understand knowing the finish, but for like the refs, like you was good at TNA when I saw it. Charles Robertson, like his expression is really good.
Yep.
Like I just don't know if I would really want to know the finish.
Right.
so I can have that reaction.
Right. But here's another way to look at it too. If you go into the match, right, even if you know everything that's going to happen from start to finish, you can also know in your mind, and I always put it there. I'm like, I got to make this look like a shoot, right? I always put my mind when I go out there, I got to make this look like a shoot, and I react at the right moments, such as if it's a big thing, I react in the way it should be reacted. If it's a little smaller, I react in that way. I react by what the emotion should be done at the particular time. Because if the guy sits in there and he hits him with a chair and the referee does not make any kind of facial, doesn't make any kind of weird movement or act like, oh my God, I can't believe you hit him with a chair. Why do we want the fans to react to him getting hit with a chair? I'm right there 4 feet away. And if I just act like, oh, he hit him with a chair, whatever, nobody cares. So it's still and a lot of times they don't tell you that stuff. They don't tell you everything still. They may have a spot like, unless that's the finish, like a DQ, this might be after the match. It'll be like, oh, he's going to do a beatdown, right? Well, you don't know he's getting a chair in the beatdown sometimes. They'll just go get the chair, hit him with the chair, and you're like, oh, shoot. You really react to that. But I've always been good about reacting regardless if I knew something or not, because I always thought about how we're supposed to portray the business in a certain fashion. And that's why I think I've always been good with my reactions. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I'm saying I'm better than a lot at doing the reactions. So I just had that element every time I went in the ring. I'm like, I'm going to treat this. I treat it as a shoot regardless if I know what the finish or the spot or whatever it is. I treat it as a shoot in my mind so I can react accordingly to the situation.
Yeah, like I said, you was one of the best ones up at TNA with the reaction.
Man, I love TNA.
WCW, you was okay.
Yeah.
But I think your best was in TNA.
Well, let me tell you something about WCW. When you said that, right? Do you remember the 2000 era? You watched a lot of it. Well, they had this thing called relaxed rules. So the referees are supposed to be a little more relaxed with the rulings. So you had to treat that a little bit differently. Yeah, but I do agree with you. My TNA run was my WCW run will always be my favorite because I was young. I was 21 years old when they hired me. Like I said before, the youngest referee they ever hired and the only redheaded referee they ever hired. So there you go, guys. Keep that on notepad. That'll always be near and dear to my heart. But my TNA run, I had so much fun with it. It just there's always been politics in the pro wrestling business. They were played in WCW. They were played in TNA. Nothing I did. I never played politics. But a lot of the guys did. But TNA was a hell of a run. I loved it. TV was mainly taped in Orlando. So I live in Tampa. I'm driving. It may take me an hour and a half if traffic is good. You're driving an hour and a half to go to work, and you only went twice a month, 2 different weeks a month. If you went to a house show loop, you'd be flown out, right? So, but for the mirror part, I was basically working local, doing TV, and was enjoying it, man. I enjoyed that whole run. Both of them are both them runs were the best. My 2 best runs ever. TNA, anytime I worked for TNA, I loved it. WCW, I loved it. WWE is a little different of a beast because they gave me a taste of being on the live television field, right? I'm on this, I do the dark match at Raw. I do a dark match at SmackDown. There's Charlotte and Roanoke, right? Consecutively. November of 2007. And I went to developmental before that, and I talked to Steve Curran on the phone. And Steve's like, if you want to come down, I'll take a look at you and send it back and let them know what we think, right? So him and Dr. Tom are running this down here in Florida. So I did that first in October 2007. Next thing I know, Well, John Laurinaitis didn't even call me. He ran it through Charles Robinson, actually, because me and Charles are friends. I still hope we are friends. We just hadn't talked in a long time. But anyway, so he sends it through Charles, and Charles is like, "You're working Charlotte on the 27th of November, which is a Monday." And I'm like all excited. I'm like, "Oh, man, I know I got this. I go in there and show good. I got a job, right?" So the next few days later, Charles is like, "What do you think about, can you work Roanoke the next night too, TV?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I go to Roanoke too, referee these dark matches for him. And next thing I know, man, Christmas week, it was, I think it was like 2 or 3 days before Christmas, man. I'm not joking. This is awesome. I get a phone call from one of the office personnel, and they're like, "So I was just giving you a call, blah, blah, blah." He doesn't really say much. And he goes, "So I got one question." I'm like, "Okay, how bad do you want this?" And I go, "What do you mean?" I said, "I want this. Okay, Mike, listen to this. I'm working as the second in charge at Food Line as a produce guy, right? And I'm on the phone, not working, taking this call from WWE because I'm like, screw this. I'm going to take this call, right? I knew who it was from. So I took this call, and he's saying all this, and he goes, "Well, I'm glad to hear that, but there's one thing you got to do. I got to hear you," because I lived in Charlotte, right? "I got to hear you give me a Ric Flair woo." So I'm standing there in the produce area and behind, not an actual cooler, but outside of it. And I give out the biggest Ric Flair woo into the phone. And then he goes, "That's awesome. Well, congratulations. You're hired." And that's how I found out I got my developmental deal in late 2007. I was leaving Charlotte to go to Louisville, but then they went out of Louisville. You heard that story. And they shipped me to Tampa down here. And that was how I got into developmental. But it was a really cool time. But they give you that taste of TV. Then they're like, "Oh, you're going to Louisville." Then they're like, "Well, no, you're going to Tampa." So, but that's that. But I don't know how I got on that. How did we get there?
I don't
We were
know.
talking about TNA and WCW.
I don't know, but everybody wants to know is why you could do a Ric Flair woo in a Food Line produce area,
Yeah.
but you didn't give us your Ric Flair woo on here. I think the people deserve it right now.
Yeah. I'm a lot older now. It may not sound the same.
Well, you can still. That's fine. You can still do it. Hey, you're the one that brought it up, so the people want.
What
to
do we
hear
get from you if I do this?
Because
everybody's watching.
I hate that eye.
What do we get from you?
Nothing.
Oh, Mike. You ain't got nothing for us if I do it?
No.
Oh, that sucks, bro.
Maybe next week I'll do a woo. My throat's a little scratchy today, so
of course
I'll do one. I'll try to do one next week.
All that cold Virginia air made your throat itchy.
It is. I mean, it's just snowing and icy for almost a whole week now.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So do the woo. There you go.
There you go.
I'll give you a 4.2 on it.
Everybody, are you watching? I love this
song. That wasn't your best woo I've heard before, but
probably not.
It's a good one.
I wonder if my neighbor heard it.
I hope so.
All right, so yeah, some good stuff, man. I actually forgot the last question just now after we did the woo. Are we still talking about that, or you got something else?
I think you finished up the question that I asked you. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that was the end of that question. I lost all track of mind when you did the little woo.
Well, you know what we can talk about real quick? This right here. We want everyone to send their questions and comments to wrestleref123@gmail.com. Listen, guys, the inbox is getting a little low with them. We had a questionnaire a few weeks ago, and I think after the Chris Benoit conversation, it may have made a lot of you not wanting to send in your questions anymore, but please send in your questions. But we will continue to say, Mike, am I right? Chris Benoit is
Yes,
WWE Hall of Fame bound, right?
yes,
Okay.
he is.
All right.
But
We're not joking
don't
about
you?
that.
He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you
Absolutely.
send in the email, you don't have to be anonymous. We're
No.
not gonna say how terrible you are for saying Chris Benoit doesn't need to be in the Hall of Fame or nothing. We're not gonna do that.
Right.
But he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But we want to know who these questions are coming from, and we can give y'all a shout out on the fastest rising podcast in the whole entire world right now, and that
That's
is
right.
Jamie and Mike's Wrestling Adventures.
That's right. And we're moving up. We're going to continue moving. Because guys, listen, the only reason I started this podcast back in September of 24, which has been over a year now, is because one day I was sitting there going, I'd like to talk about my old days in the business, number one, so I can express my gratitude, number two, and I also just wanted to share these stories with people. And another thing, I wanted to do it before maybe I started forgetting a lot of the stories, because a lot of times you do something for so long, you can't remember everything just off the top of your head. But if you have trigger points, it sets the mind free and we can talk about it. So that's what my whole thing was, to do it just to talk about it. It really wasn't to go out here and go, hey, I think I'm gonna be the best podcaster ever. We probably are. But but anyway, all jokes aside though, guys, I did this just to talk about pro wrestling. And then I was going to go one route with a co-host, and I don't remember what happened, why I didn't. And then my wife ended up being my co-host, and it was, she enjoyed doing it, but this was back when we were just audio, coming off of Podbean into Pandora and iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all the other places that it says you can listen there. It was just all audio. But anyway, my wife did the audio version of this podcast when it was called The Whole Reffin' Show. But it was fun, and she enjoyed it, but she wanted to step back from it because she knew that the podcast was more my passion, more me talking about my career and stuff like that. And she may be back on in the future. She said, yeah, but she's not going to be on full time. I'll be honest. You won't get that. She'll be just like a special guest, like anybody else probably. But we will have her back on. And but that's how it started. And then it grew into me and Mike talking one day about doing it. And I don't think Mike believed me when I was like, yeah, let's do it. I think he was like, he ain't never going to do that. But we did it, and we enjoyed it. And then we had to rebrand over the summer. We got our new name, Jamie and Mike's Wrestling Adventures. So if you remember, the old name was The Whole Reffin' Show. So guys, look, if you think back and you remember that and you go, I remember that. Well, let everybody know its name's changed in case they don't remember that. But it's, still in the same streaming services. Like on the bottom of the screen says, you can watch it on YouTube now. Before, it was always Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, Podbean, and Pandora. You still can go there and listen to them the same way you can watch this on YouTube. And so don't forget, still enjoy it, different name change. And me and Mike are your host. And we plan on bringing this into 2026 with a bang. And like I said, with guests coming up. And we will let you know on social media feeds when our first guest is. I'm lining that up still. I promise you within the next week or two, you will have a guest on here. It'll either be next week's episode or the week after, maybe the Christmas week, but you will have an episode with our first guest. We also, I mentioned some names earlier. I'm going to try to have Billy Silverman on so we can talk about his wrestling days, how he broke in the 80s, and then leading up to where we worked together in WCW and all that good stuff. And then we'll Trevin Adams of WWN. He's a WWN ambassador. I've talked to him. He said he'd love to come on. Bobby Yella, a Yella man from Virginia, my boy. We're going to have him on here talking about his wrestling and his music. And a couple others, man. I'm lining it up. We're going to get it on here. We're going to have other stories other than my own. And then a lot of times their stories will come into my stories because we did a lot of stuff together, right? So it's gonna be fun regardless. So me and Trevin can talk about China because me and Trevin actually roomed in China, which I'm glad they did. I'm glad me and Trevin roomed. While we're talking about this, I'm glad I roomed with him in China because this was 2014. I'm trying to think how old I was in 2014, Mike. I don't want to do math right now, but I'm 47 now. So, God darn it. 36.
Just say that you was old back then. Yeah,
36. I was probably 36 or 37. Let's just say that.
That's still older than I am right now.
Yeah, be quiet. And I'm glad they put me on with him instead of and this is nothing against the guys, but a lot of the younger guys stay up all night. They like to stay up all night. They like to play their video games nowadays. There's still drinkers nowadays, but not as many as they used to be. The older eras would be more of drinking, and then the era before that was more of probably painkillers and drinking and crazy, right? I can't really say the stories, but we've heard them, right? But it's a lot changed. Not my lifestyle. Trevin was more laid back. If he did stay up late, he was on his laptop. He was quiet. I could sleep. I mean, the time change itself would kill you. You went over 5 different time zones to get to China, so it was horrible with that. You had jet lag out the butt the first couple of days. I came back. I had vertigo and I had a head cold. Just got over the Chengdu lung, which I've talked about before in the past. That's what we all called it because everybody on the friggin' tour had this crap. I believe it was COVID in 2014. And the WWN crew brought it back to America. I'm just joking. But we all did have something choke us up, the majority of us at least, and it was bad. I was really sick for a couple of days over there. But it's a good learning experience. We got Trevor on here. That's what I was meaning to talk about, not to go on with more stuff, but that's what led to that. But he's going to be on here. We're going to have a good time, man. I'm telling you. One more time, I want to talk about this. And I also have a good time after you listen to this podcast or watch it. Go to cowboyrevolution.com, Cowboy Revolution Apparel Company. At checkout, use code JamieT123 for all their good merchandise, and you will save 15% when you check out. So don't forget that as well, guys. It also helps the veterans. I didn't want to forget it this time, Mike. See, I didn't. But it doesn't help the law enforcement. We will tell you, we give a big shout out to the law enforcement. The boys in blue deserve it. They work hard, and they keep you safe, regardless if some of you disagree with that. Respect your military, respect your law enforcement, and please respect your healthcare professionals, because if it wasn't for them, where would you get healthcare from? You may, you always respect your nurses, respect your doctors, EMS that come out and help you. Anybody that works in a medical office, respect them, because their job's hard too, man. My wife works in the pharmacy here for Advent Health here in Tampa. I know your wife works in the medical field back in that area of Medford. Yeah.
Office office, Access Healthcare Multi-Specialty Group.
There you go.
They are accepting new patients. Come on in. They make you feel like family.
Wow.
I mean, they are not.
Paid? Are you getting paid?
They are not paying me for this. But seriously, like I hate going to the doctor. Ask James. I hate going to it.
Yeah.
But they really treat you like family. And
okay.
I've been going. I only went because my wife worked there. She kept on, you need to go see the doctor and stuff. And I went, and it's a good thing I did and everything. So,
yep.
Like I said, they treat you like family and everything. And it's up in Forest, Virginia.
Forest, okay.
Access Healthcare Multi-Specialty Group. Check them out. Like I said, they're accepting new patients. And just tell them that I sent you there, and they will love you.
Did they get 15% off?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay, damn. Okay. Hey, you know what? Hey, Mike, but I bet they do this for people, don't they? They keep a good eye on you.
I hate that.
I'm going to mail it to you.
Yeah, please don't. But no, they will greet you with a smile. They're always happy, always smiling. Who knows? You might have a crazy one up in there that likes to sing a song once in a while.
Who's that?
Her name is Bonnie.
Okay.
She's one of the wedding singers at my weddings, and if I can find a video, I'll show it to you later on. But like I said, they're like a big old family, and if y'all want to try it out, go to the doctor. XX Healthcare Multi-Specialty Group in
Nice.
Forest, Virginia.
Nice. See, we got some plugs for our ladies as well. They both work hard.
I'm telling you, I'm not getting paid for this. I just
thought
I'd help them out.
I just know mine works hard, and I respect everything she does in the pharmacy and all that. And you know, you gotta respect all these people that do these things, man. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have these places to go to. And you know, I have some appointments myself today I have to go to, and I'm just glad they're looking out for me and keep me well. So moving along, we talked about we just got done talking about Cowboy Revolution. Before that, we had some questions about the 90s and all that. Let's see here. We also want to tell you again, cannot remind you enough. Send the questions and comments in to us today. After the podcast is over, I will answer them on the next podcast. Or if it's not directed towards me, Mike will answer them. Or we both can answer the question if it's directed in a fashion that we both can answer. So do that as well, guys.
Just don't be anonymous.
Yeah, don't be anonymous. I don't know why you got to be anonymous.
We can give y'all a shout out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna talk bad about y'all on the podcast. Maybe off the podcast, maybe, but not on the podcast.
Right.
Just kidding. We don't talk bad about nobody. We like all of our people, except for the anonymous people, because we don't know who you are.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, send them in, get a free shout out on the podcast. So
that's right. So we were just talking about we got into the refereeing, I guess, right? Last question. It was about I think of what we're on. We were talking about Stallion again and my early 90s days and all that. Now, I will bring up a good story. This triggered in my head. I don't know why I thought about this. It just, after we started talking about wrestling of old days. So, you know, we all talked in the past that I got heat with Stallion when I started working for other indies. Well, one of the indies was called the Great American Wrestling Federation. It was out of Asheville, North Carolina. And it was about a 2.5-hour drive from Charlotte. And they run the shows on a Wednesday night, and it was in a rodeo arena, dirt floor. They just put the ring down the middle, and we would dress. I forgot where they had us at. They had us way off in a barn or something, dressing in, and we have to walk seemed like an eternity, like a mile. But on this particular night, it was Nelson Royal, you know, and I met Nelson working with Stallion, and I saw him during the Crockett days, and he ran his own promotion, Atlantic Coast Wrestling, from late 88 to late 90. I think he was still running when South Atlantic came out, but he didn't last much longer during that era. But Nelson, he was old school to a T, man. So I got two stories about Nelson. So Nelson would sit there, and he came to work for Stallion in Taylorsville at the Armory one time. This is North Carolina, guys. Taylorsville, North Carolina. And Stallion's like, I got to have you sign. Can you take this release form and have Nelson sign it? Okay. I'm thinking, Stallion, you know, Stallion knew Nelson, right? From the Crockett days. Why can't he go ask him? Well, I take it over to Nelson in the locker room, and it was very early in the day still, so not many were there yet. And I sit down next to Nelson and start talking to him. He's real nice. And then I tell him, I said, if you don't mind, sir, I need you to sign this for us. And he looks at it and goes, why the F do I have to sign this? I've never signed a release form my whole effing life. You know, he'd been in the business forever, bro. 60s all the way to, this is the 94 probably. And so he don't like it. So I go back to Stallion and I go, Nelson doesn't want to sign that release form. He's pretty upset over it. Says he never signed one before and he ain't signing one now. He goes, and Stallion was something to the effect of like, brother, go back and tell him, go back and tell him that we just do it for liability, blah, blah, blah. That everybody signs them, right? So I take it back to Nelson. I'm trying to talk to him. So finally, reluctantly, this old timer that I thought he could probably still kick my teeth down my throat with no problem. Even today, if he was still alive, he probably could. But then he definitely could. Because Nelson was tough as nails, bro. And I finally, reluctantly, he signed it. But that was the most relief I had because Nelson was intimidating, and Nelson was shorter than me. Nelson was a smaller junior heavyweight, right? Nelson was probably maybe 5'7", 5'8", somewhere in that. I think 5'8", probably. But just to get this guy to sign it, and I'm like 16 years old. 16-year-old kid having this old timer sign this paper is pretty funny to me. Especially, Stallion knew him all them years. Why didn't you go ask? I don't know. But that story pops up. And then the other story, back to Great American Wrestling Federation. This was in 95. I want to tell you right now, he actually went, and I'm not making this up, he wrestled Buddy Landel. Nature Boy Buddy Landel wrestled Nelson Royal in Asheville, North Carolina to a 20-minute draw. And Nelson's probably in his 60s. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen. They kept it old school, but it was, Nelson could still go. Buddy Landel was always phenomenal. We talked about in the past. I always told everybody that Buddy Landel is one of my top ones that I would say was world champion material. But for some reason, they said he had demons and different problems that kept him out of the limelight. But Buddy and Arn didn't have them problems. I always thought Arn was a world heavyweight champion material as well. Nikita Koloff's another one they could have pushed, but they're always like my top three guys. I think growing up, they could have pushed either of them three at the right times and they'd have made money from them. But that's two Nelson Royal stories that comes to mind. But once again, that's the story of telling you about a guy that was intimidating. You're talking about coming into a business that's intimidating. That's the guy that was intimidating. Nelson Royal was a little intimidating, at least to me. I was 16. So anyway.
So you're popping up that Cowboy Revolution.
I do. Got to pump it up, guys. You got to go check it out. I'm telling you. That's a good group, and save that 15%. But we talk about the 90s. We talk more about that again this week. I know we touch base on some WCW and TNA a little bit in conversation. We talked about WWE and how I got started down, all them stories, blah, blah, blah. But the 90s, like I said last week, was one of the most phenomenal periods that I think anybody breaking in the business could have. Because, it was the dying days of the last territories that were around. Jim Cornette had Smoky Mountain up to 95. He brought back a territory. And then you had USWA, which is the Jarrett promotion. They lasted all the way to 1997. So regardless of what kind of money they were making in 97, people can say whatever they say about, this territory over here was the best territory, or that territory over there was the best territory. But wouldn't you also put in effect the longevity of a territory meaning a lot? So to me, if we're talking about longevity and being considered a territory, the Jarretts and Lawler win that hands down. You go all the way to 97 when Crockett sold out in 88 to Turner. And then Vern Gagne's territory, the AWA, goes out, 91? So, yeah, the Jarretts win that, man. I mean, even Cornette, he came in 92, but he only lasted 3 years. But, the pro wrestling business was on a different scope, going up a different mountain at that point. Because if we look at the limelight before the Attitude Era, you look at 95, Nitro starts. 96, they get the NWO. 97, they're in the Monday Night Wars. 98, the most profitable year for probably every major wrestling promotion there was. 98 and 99 were the two most profitable years for ECW, even for WWE and for WCW. WCW, ECW, and WWF at the time. So you got to look at that landscape. And then you go, well, then you think about it, you're like, well, what happened after 99 that made WCW that everybody says they had their worst year ever was 2000 until they closed in early 2001, right? Everybody claims that's the worst year. You got to think what happened. I don't know. I would happen to think that most of the problems wasn't out in the forefront. Everybody wants to say the booking changed. That made fans not want to watch. The ratings were still good. It wasn't great. They did lose some viewers, but you know, you did have ECW on a high, right? Best year was 99. You guys figure they started dropping ratings in 99. ECW got their best year ever from what I've heard. And they got the TNN deal on the National Network. Remember that? August of 99. So you put that in consideration, and you put that Vince McMahon, he just knew how to bring his company back. He just knew it. And then we got your boy in there, Vince Russo, in the Attitude Era, making a lot of this happen too. And so people can say all day long that he was one of the guys that may have killed off World Championship Wrestling, but he's not. It takes more than one individual to kill off anything. And then with him having so much influence on the Attitude Era, you know, I don't know, dude, but you think back and there's no real pinpoint from my perspective that can say why WCW ended up the way it did. Now, you've heard the stories. People are more involved, Bischoff and all them. So we're going to leave them stories to them. We're going to say that they're right about all that because I don't know. See, I'm not trying to say they're wrong or bash anybody. I'm just trying to say, from my point of view, the writing of the TV, in my opinion, didn't kill off the company. I believe it was things that happened behind the curtain that a lot of us wasn't aware about. Office dealings, people in charge ruined it. So you need to blame them people, not your new talent, the Mark Jendraks, the Sean O'Hares, the Mike Sanders, the Young Dragons, the Three Counts. Listen, these kids, and we were all young. We were all kids at that point. They were at the right place, right time. They deserved the opportunities. They were all really talented. They had nothing to do with the downfall of that company. I just say that all the stuff that we don't know about as talent is what killed that place. And I'll swear by that all day. Now, other people will make up or say other stories. I'm not going to say they make it up. They may believe it, or they may know more than me, which they probably do. Bischoff and Russo and all of them would know more than me about this. But I really don't think it was anything that anybody's any booking meetings or any writings that killed that place. I really don't believe that. I believe it's all corporate that took out that company. And I believe it to this day. Because 2000, bro, I will take up for the year 2000 to the end of day. And I'm going to tell you why. That was my era. That was my WCW. I was a talent.
Yeah, I heard one story, like, you know how Bischoff used to give out the raw results at the beginning of the shows and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, that was, like, hurting WWE and everything until that one time when Foley was going to win the championship.
Oh.
And then he spoiled that, and that's when I heard, like, the ratings wasn't as good because people wanted to see Foley win the championship. So that one actually backfired on them.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. So,
well, yeah.
I mean, you got little things like that. Like, I don't know. But the wrestling was still good. Like,
yeah.
I can watch it right now on TV, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I think it's better, a lot better than half the stuff that's on there now.
Yeah. Well, in one
So
shoot interview, and I can't remember who said it, Mike. I don't think it was Bobby Heenan. It might have been Bobby Heenan, but he said that they pushed. It was either him or somebody. I can't remember. I watched so many things. That whoever said this though said that they pushed Goldberg really big, and they ended the streak at Starrcade '98, and it was with Kevin Nash, I believe, and they said that helped kill the company. And then the first of the year they did a Nitro in Atlanta. They did a finger poke of doom, with Hogan and Nash, and they say that did it. But once again, that's just somebody's segment that they put out there. Realistically, would that really kill a company? Because
if they go out there right now and Cena did the finger poker doom on his last night, is that going to kill WWE? No. So I don't see that killing the company.
I just think that's way of people. That's way of people start just to make up excuses of why the final nails in the coffin happen. It's just excuses of why something happens. Everybody just looks for excuses, but overall, at the end of the day, regardless, we all heard the story that if TV time slots were open, Fusion and Bischoff would have bought it, right? If they kept it on TBS and TNT. So that's the main factor. Regardless if Turner's group AOL sold it or not, it still would have been open. But I just think at the end of the day, the reason Turner, the AOL, when they did the merger, they didn't want wrestling. And that was their way to get wrestling off the network, but it ultimately killed the company and it made it no value because without TV in a TV era, and right now, if WWE and AEW didn't have all their cable and streaming situations, and even TNA's got a new TV show coming out on AMC in January. If none of them had all that, their company wouldn't mean nothing because you can't get it out to the masses to make it mean something. So ultimately, it all comes down to corporate started it when the merger happened, and finally they got a reason to get rid of it. And then when they wouldn't keep it on the air, the next people that were going to take over thought there was no value at this point because we have no way to give it to the people. So there you go. So it's all corporate. Right there explains to you it's all corporate of why this place went out of business. And I hate when people push all the blame on Russo. That's not fair. And, of course, he probably don't care. He shouldn't care.
He don't care, and it wasn't his fault.
And, here's another thing. Bischoff, and nobody should blame Bischoff. It's not his fault. I just think it was a lot of bad corporate dealings behind the curtains. And it may have been over the years. It may not have been just at that last year. I don't know that. I don't know anything behind it other than I was a talent. I got paid to be somewhere, and I showed up to work. And that's all I can say about it. But my ultimate feeling from everything that I saw as an a bystander, I guess an outside person, I see it as corporate all day long is what killed World Championship Wrestling. Because I believe if Turner would have had more stake than what AOL ended up with, we probably would have never lost WCW at that particular time anyway. And so it wouldn't have been a sell to anybody. Nobody had been taking it over. But, dealings happen. People lose control. And at the end of the day, that's what happens. That happens in everyday life in companies, not just pro wrestling. So, but yeah. But, man, that was one, WCW was one hell of a hot company. Regardless of anybody says, up to its end. It was hot from when Turner took it over. It was, and in my opinion, it was always my favorite. It was hot to the end, regardless. I don't care what anybody says. But, the champion and the leader in sports entertainment is WWE. So, yeah.
Soon to be TNA.
Well, I'm looking forward to AMC and TNA.
I do too.
But here's the question, though. Do you have to pay for another streaming service to watch their TV show?
I think so.
See,
Now, unless it's on TV, like if you got the AMC, like on your cable and stuff, I think you can watch it through there. But like me, I don't have cable and stuff,
me neither.
so I had to buy a new thing to watch that if I want to.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's getting kind of expensive to watch wrestling, unless you go to your independent wrestling and everything. Like this weekend, Pure Pro Wrestling, $15 for adults, $600 for free.
Yep.
I mean, that's a whole lot cheaper than buying all these subscriptions for TV just to watch the big leagues when the future of them is your independents.
Well,
wrestling.
Well, while we're talking about good deals, we talked about Wrestle Expo earlier, right? Well, everybody, listen. Wrestle Expos at the OCC Roadhouse, guess what admission is? Admission is free to come in to meet all these superstars and to mingle. Come out, get some 8x10s, take pictures with everybody. I'm telling you, you can't beat it. Every other convention, and I'm not knocking the rest of them, but every other convention I've worked for or had been a part of to be able to go to have always charged their consumer. We're not. WWN and the group over here, they've done a really good thing. Speaking of WWN, that's my poster from China I collected from 2014, and I'm proud to be affiliated with them. They're bringing me in to this event, even though it's their shindig. But what I'm saying is, an outside vendor didn't bring me in; they're actually bringing me back. I'm part of their group. And I was with them for a good, from 2012 or 2013, somewhere in there to 2017. I did 4 years straight with them here in Florida. I enjoyed every bit of it, and I'm glad to be affiliated with them. Who knows? Future planning, who knows? I might be back in there with them a little more than just a Wrestle Expo, just a meet and greet. But I have high expectations, have some great ideas coming, and but yeah, man, you can't beat it. I mean, you can't beat indie wrestling prices for the most part. You can't beat these meet and greets like this. Where else can you go get a meet and greet and you get in free admission? Most of the conventions, man, I'm telling you, they charge what they call a super ticket or something, and it's like $120, $150 to get in for that one day. Now listen to this. On top of that expensive ticket, you've got to buy all your photo ops, your 8x10s, whatever you pay for on top of getting into these events. This event is totally free to get into. You can't beat that. It's also at a location that the parking's totally free. They got so much parking at the OCC. I don't know. It's a big place. So if you're in the area or you've never seen it, come on out. Wonderful venue. They still have major act concerts come to this venue. They have wrestling there every Monday, except for after this Monday, no more until January sometime. But what I'm saying is, it's a great venue for a lot of things. Come on out, check it out, get in free, get your photos with your favorite superstars if one's there, and get your signed autographs. And come out, say hi. Since I'm giving the plugs to you, come out, see me, everybody. Talk. Let's maybe we can talk road stories and stuff. I'll take the time to talk to each and every one of you.
You just said come see your favorite wrestler. Why don't come see your favorite referee and your favorite podcaster, Jamie Tucker?
That's true. Thank you. Well,
or the other referee, Billy.
Or Billy Silverman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right there with you.
Listen, I talk so much. I even forget to talk about myself sometimes. So, but it's going to be a good weekend, guys. Come out and meet me if you haven't met me already. If you already met me, come out and meet me again. I mean, you probably met me years ago with red hair. Now I have no hair, so just do it. So, what do you got, Mike? You laughing?
No, nothing, buddy. I just remember the first time you shaved your head, it came to work. But,
yeah.
Yeah, That was yeah.
Yeah.
Our other good friend Billy the Kid, and
Yeah.
that's really his name. His middle name is D, so it's Billy
D.
D Kid.
It is.
He was
It is.
he's a strange dude.
Yeah, to say the least. I haven't talked to Billy in so long. I don't even know if he's still doing good, if he's alive or.
um, last thing I heard that he got hit by a car, but he was doing good.
And people, when he says he got hit by a car, he wasn't in another car.
No, he was walking to the store.
Hmm.
So, luckily the car wasn't going that fast where he lives and everything. Let's just say it wasn't the car's fault. Billy.
Yeah, Billy got hit by a car.
I bet sounds like a Christmas song.
Huh?
Sounds like the Christmas song. Grandma got ran over by a reindeer.
Oh yeah.
Billy got ran over by a car.
Well, he's lucky that we didn't stay in contact, and I, like all of us, and I wasn't still living there, because we would give him the hardest time about that. It wouldn't even be funny.
Yeah. Billy. So if you got any questions or comments, send it to WrestleRef123@gmail.com.
That's right. So, Mike, do we have anything else for this show today? Did you have any more questions on your end or anything going on that we need to talk about before we head out?
I don't think so. We talked about the Excess Healthcare Multi-Specialty Group in Forest, Virginia. They're accepting new patients. If you got a kid in the area that does sports, they do sports physicals. Look them up on Facebook, and you can get the details there. I'm telling you, they're not paying me to say this, but
I kind of think you got a deal I don't know about.
If I got a deal, I don't know about it yet.
I don't know. This sounds kind of fishy.
We talked about Cowboy Revolution. Save 15% using the code JamieT123. And James likes to forget, but they help support the veterans.
That's right, it does.
We support them. What else have we talked about? We talked about a lot of good wrestling. Is there anything else we need to plug? Sponsors, not sponsors?
Well, no, not really. Did I ever tell the Iron Sheik story?
I don't think so.
Oh, do you want to hear that before we go?
You know something? Let's get a little cheeky with it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
So this is about Sheiky Baby. So nothing but respect for the Iron Sheik. And I was a fan actually growing up a little bit, even though I was more of a babyface fan, right? But in 1995, I got to meet the Sheik. And how this came about was Stallion had his big shows that Northside Baptist Church had all these sponsors come in, and they'd sponsor it. And that was the way for the church to get more members, by getting people to come out to these shows. So we actually had the old Charlotte Coliseum, which is now called the Bojangles Coliseum off of Independence Boulevard, booked. It was in December. It was a week after a Nitro was there. So needless to say, I went to the Nitro as a fan, and I postered and flyered all the cars in the parking lot. And I wore all my PWF merch. And this is after we had a falling out and I came back. So I was doing good again, I guess. And Georgia came back at this time with Stallion. So just an all-star card. Rock and Roll Express was on it. Barbarian, Warlord, the Iron Sheik. I'm trying to think if I'm missing a few. I may be. But anyway, that was the names on the card. Of course, you had George and Stallion, the PWF mainstays. But in the main event, it was the Italian Stallion versus the Iron Sheik. Well, we go out there, we do the match. I take a bump of some kind. I can't remember how it went down, but I do remember bumping. And we have the finish, and Stallion ends up going over the Sheik because, Stallion's running this thing anyway. A lot of times the promoter puts himself over anyway, because the guy at the end of the day you can trust the most to put over in your own promotion is yourself. And sometimes the booker, Dusty, everybody criticized Dusty, but why did Dusty put himself over? He could trust himself. you can't trust everybody in a business like that. So back in the day, that's the way it was. So Stallion went over, needless to say, it was in Charlotte. But long story short, me and my dad was in charge of picking up the guys at the airport. We pick up the guys at the airport, take them back to the hotel. I think the hotel of choice at this time was the Hilton. So before the show, the day before, Sheik comes into town on, I think Sheik came in on Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday afternoon. We picked him up, took him back to the hotel. I helped him get his bags up to his room. And just me by myself now. So I'm standing in his room and knock on the door where I'm helping Sheik. Well, here comes in Midget D. Now, Midget D, story about Midget D was, and I don't mean to talk bad about him because I don't know if he's still alive or not. And this is not talking bad about him. But he would sit there in the back of a van. Next thing you know, his briefcase on his little lap, and he's snorting something. And I'm pretty sure I know what it was, right? So he comes up to the room, and I already know he does that. And I'm like, uh-oh. Well, Sheik says, hey, kid, make us drinks. So Sheik wants me to make drinks for everybody. Well, it's just him, Midget D, and me. So I go over there, and Sheik's like, use Diet Coke. So he had Diet Coke over there. I put Diet Coke in there. He has this whole table full of airplane bottles, liquor. So I pour one in each cup for him and the little guy there, Midget D, right? Little Midget D. So they're sitting there drinking. Sheik's like, you call that a drink? Sheik wanted more. So I had to bring more bottles over. I'm pouring it in there, making Sheik this strong drink. And he's like, what the fuck? Kid don't know what he's doing. Talking about me to my face. Right to Midget D. And I'm sitting there going, I'm 17 years old. I'm sitting there going, what am I going to do, right? And then I'm not lying, and I'm not talking bad about Sheik, but he had a documentary, and everybody knows about it. They pull out the powder, right? And they start snorting. Well, as they're doing this, and they're laughing together and having a good time, I'm like obsolete at this point, right? So my 17-year-old tail skedaddles to the door and gets out of there. I'll leave him. I don't know what they did after that, but man, Sheik was upset. I made his drink wrong, and then I think they wanted me to drink with them and have cocaine, and I walked away. I didn't do cocaine with them, or I didn't drink with them. I was 17. I didn't know what to do. I was still a young, shy kid. Even then, I was like, I'm getting out of here. So I left, but that's a Sheik story, but he's a good guy overall. He would talk to you. We took him back to the airport the day after, and funny guy, but that story sticks in my head because I made his drink wrong. This effing kid didn't know what he was doing.
Of course you did.
So, but that's a good Sheik story, man. But, it was cool. We picked up, like I said, all the guys the year before, in 94. We picked up Gangrel, which was the Vampire Warrior at the time. And we picked up the Bushwhackers at the airport. And I'm trying to think. I think Wahoo McDaniel was local, so he drove. I think that's the only ones that had flown in that year was the Bushwhackers and Gangrel. But Stallion worked, Gangrel, which is Vampire Warrior, 2 different shows that year because we had a day and night show. And David Heath, one of the best guys, that's his name. David Heath, one of the best guys you ever met. He lives here in Florida. And he still works, actually. But got some good stories for him later on. But he was always a good guy. I remember when I would get in the ring and train with the guys, bumps and all that. We came down to Jacksonville, Florida on the naval base. Stallion had a show down here. He actually booked Vampire Warrior and Luna Vachon, which is his wife at the time. God rest, she passed. Sweet woman though, man. You would think by her character she'd be the meanest woman there ever was on the face of the earth, but the sweetest woman you ever met. But always real nice to me, both of them. And when I was in there bumping with the guys, I was still a ref 98% of the time, 99, like we said before, remember? But he would get in there and show me pointers too. And I never really wrestled, but it was good to hear things, right? And I'm glad his career took off. He was a really good dude. So a lot of memories from Stallion. That's why I say I give all my respect to Stallion. So that's some more Stallion and PWF story days from the 90s. So I hope everybody enjoyed the Sheik story, though.
Yeah, I did.
Good.
We all learned that you can't mix it, take a drink.
Well, now I can, but at 17.
I don't think you know how to.
Oh, Mike. Disagree. Next time I see you, I got a drink for you.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, with that, are we good to go on the podcast this week, my friend?
Yeah. But seriously, I'm not getting paid by the doctor's office. I'm just saying, like different stuff on here. We're passionate about. We're passionate about wrestling. We're passionate about different stuff. And trust me, I hate going to the doctor. But this one's a really good one. If you're in the area, check them out. If you want to be a new patient for real, call them and stuff. And who knows, you might talk to my wife on the phone and she might get y'all an appointment up in there. But seriously, it's a really good place. And I've been going there for a few years. And I probably would not go to another doctor's office. It's just, like I said, they're real nice and friendly and everything. So, and we're both passionate about Monster Energy. We're not getting paid for them. We're not getting paid.
Not getting paid.
But, I mean, why not advertise them? Maybe they'll sponsor us.
Maybe. You never know. Maybe.
Never know.
So, guys, with that, I think we got to wrap it up. So with that being said, we're going to go out with our jingle that opens it up. We love it. It tells you about our show as well. We'll see you next time on Jamie and Mike's Wrestling Adventures. Peace.
Bye, everybody.
The 2020 and the golden one dropping wrestling talk.
Yeah.
Wrestling adventure storytelling, no fake news here. Yo, Mr. 2020 and the golden